Hey, how's it going, Sprout Up family? I'm Dolphin.
And I'm Sea Turtle, and we work with this awesome organization called Parley for the Oceans. And we're working with Sprout Up right now to bring you guys some information about plastic pollution.
Oh yeah, we're here in our home state of Washington on the Washington coast, and this is what plastic pollution looks like near us.
Where does all this stuff come from, Dolphin?
A lot of this stuff comes from the Pacific Ocean, or you might have heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And a lot of what we're seeing are these things that we call single-use plastics, meaning we use them only one time and then we throw them away. We also see some of these marine fishing nets, which we're not too stoked about.
Now that you guys have seen what plastic pollution looks like here on the Washington coast, we're going to send you out to some friends of ours from around the world to show you what plastic pollution looks like near them.
Hello everyone, I'm Elephant, and I'm located in Baltimore, Maryland. So, you might be wondering what plastic is and where it comes from. So here is an example of a piece of plastic that I found near my home. This plastic is actually made out of oil, but it's not the same kind of oil that we cook with, like this. This is usually made from living plants. The oil that makes up this plastic soap bottle comes from deep in the ground, and it's made from plants and organisms that lived a very long time ago. When we talk about the plastic life cycle, there are three main steps: production, consumption, and disposal. When we talk about each of these three stages of the plastic life cycle, there are important environmental justice topics that we also need to consider. So, let's begin. The first stage in the plastic life cycle is production, which means how plastic materials are created. The story of plastic production begins deep under the Earth's surface. First, big machines dig into the earth and suck up oil. Oil is a very important ingredient in many of the plastics that are used every day. Once the oil is pulled out of the ground, it is transformed to produce different types of plastics, like this plastic wrapper and this plastic water bottle. Unfortunately, the process of digging up oil causes some big issues for the earth and for people. One of the biggest problems in plastic production is that lots of harmful air pollution is created during the process. Air pollution is gases and harmful things in the air that are bad for our planet and our health. So, when people live near areas where plastic is produced, they can breathe in harmful air pollution, which can cause really bad health issues. And in the United States, researchers have found that plastic production facilities are more likely to be located near non-white communities with mostly Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as low-income communities. The second stage of the plastic life cycle is consumption, which means how people use plastic materials in their lives. After plastic is produced, plastic materials are consumed for many different purposes. Some common ways that plastic is consumed or used is to package food, drinks, and home products. Because plastic is consumed in many different ways, there are some important things to think about. One important consideration is that many plastic items are consumed by humans for only a very short amount of time. For example, a plastic water bottle might be consumed in one day. But do you know how long that plastic water bottle will last in our world? Well, unfortunately, plastic never goes away. It only breaks down slowly over time. Because plastic never disappears in our world, consuming plastic means that we are adding more plastic to our world every day. The third stage of the plastic life cycle is disposal, which is what happens to plastic materials once they are no longer being consumed. For example, what do you think happens to a plastic straw after it is used in a drink? Often, it is disposed of in a landfill somewhere nearby. Plastic is usually disposed of in one of three ways. First is recycling, which is the best way to dispose of plastics. Recycling produced and consumed plastic means that the plastic materials can be used again and turned into new products. Unfortunately, only a very small amount of plastic is recycled and used again. The second common way that plastics are consumed is sending consumed plastic to landfills in the earth. A landfill is a big hole in the earth where humans put trash. It's hard for plastics to break down in landfills, and over the years, those plastics can release harmful chemicals into the earth's soil, water, and the air that we all breathe. The third common way that plastic is disposed of is when it isn't recycled or sent to landfills, but when it is just left in our environment. This is called plastic pollution, and there's plastic pollution all over the earth, which causes big problems for the land, oceans, and all of the living things on earth. Plastic pollution is a big, big problem. Now that we have talked about the most common ways that plastic is disposed of, it's important to remember how plastic disposal affects certain communities. For example, trash incinerators, which are big machines that burn trash, and landfills are more often located near communities with mostly Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Living near plastic disposal sites can often lead to serious health consequences for members of the communities, and that is not fair. Now that we've talked about how plastic is produced, consumed, and disposed of, let's talk about why plastic is an important topic in environmental justice.
Hello, Sprout Up scientists. I'm Caterpillar and I'm located in West Hartford, Connecticut. So if you remember all the way back to our first video, we broke down the term environmental justice. But no matter where we live, we all deserve the right to live in a healthy, green, and safe space. Environmental justice is simply making sure that everyone has access to the healthiest life possible and that everyone gets to be involved in that process no matter the color of their skin, where they live, or how much money they make. As it turns out, plastics have a lot to do with environmental justice. Sometimes the people that use plastics the most aren't the ones that are feeling the most effect of plastic pollution. Now we're going to head over to Elephant, who will talk to us why this, in addition to where plastic comes from, is an environmental justice issue. Just a heads up, that Elephant's video, he's going to talk a little bit more about how plastic severely affects Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. If you are unfamiliar with those terms, absolutely no worries. We're going to cover the meaning of those terms and the definitions in an upcoming video about environmental racism and identity. Take it away, Elephant.
Thank you, Caterpillar. As Caterpillar explained, environmental justice is all about making sure that everyone can live the healthiest life possible. When we think about the plastic life cycle, there's usually a lot of environmental injustice for some people. Injustice means that things are not fair. Let's think about the United States. The United States consumes a lot of plastic each year. Some of that plastic turns into pollution and enters our environment. For example, lots of plastic is consumed in the US and then is polluted in the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. When this happens, plastic pollution can hurt sea life and it can go to other countries. Now that is not fair to the sea life or to other countries. It's an environmental injustice. So next, Nina and Thara in Indonesia are going to talk more about plastic pollution from the United States, which is a big example of environmental injustice.
Hello, my name is Tara and my nature name is Scorpion. This is my friend Narnar. Today we're here at Brantas River in Gresik, East Java, Indonesia. Brantas River is source of drinking water for more than 5 million people in East Java. But dumping plastic to the river has become a habit. In here, we don't have trash bin or waste transportation facilities. And many people still believes in traditional myth that tells them it is better to throw baby diapers to the river. Sachet packaging is also a huge problem. People in here prefer to buy everything, shampoo, their soap, their spices, coffee, in sachet form because it is cheaper. But sachet is one of the source of microplastic pollution in Brantas River. A research from Ecoton has found that 80% of fish in Brantas River has found microplastic in their stomach. So what I do, I made a team called River Warrior. Our goal is to make Brantas River free from plastic. We do river cleanups and river monitoring to observe the plastic pollution in Brantas River. We also do a plastic exhibition in schools to educate our friends and our teacher about the plastic pollution in Brantas River and about the dangers of plastic. We also do a refuse sachet packaging action. We ask the plastic company to take responsibility of their waste that polluting Brantas River and to redesign their plastic packaging. Then we collect sign for petition to ban single-use plastic in Gresik. Hopefully, in the future, plastic pollution in Brantas can be handled.
Hi, I'm Nina. My nature name is Dragonfly. This is my friend Nana. And right now, I'm in front of my house at Gresik, East Java, Indonesia. This is how imported plastic waste looks like. This plastic came from Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, Netherlands, United States, and this is plastic bag from Target. This plastic called the imported plastic waste. Imported waste is a waste from a developed country that's sent to developing countries like Indonesia. I live near Bangun village, the biggest imported plastic waste dump site in East Java. I saw how imported plastic waste were being burned at front of yard of houses in that village. The plastic scraps were being burned as fuel at the tofu factory. Some plastics are collected for recycling, but the wastewater are discharged into Brantas River without any treatment that release million particles of microplastics. Brantas River is a source of our drinking water, but it has been polluted by imported plastic and paper waste recycling industries. I decided to write letters to the leaders of plastic waste exporting countries. I sent letters to US President Donald Trump, Chancellor of Germany Angela Merkel, and Prime Minister of Australia Scott Morrison. Their answers was not satisfying me because there is no commitment from them to stop exporting plastic waste to Indonesia. I demand the exporter countries to clean up piles imported plastic waste in Bangun village. Plastic waste are still being exported by developed countries to Indonesia. Every country should treat their own waste and not to burden other countries to treat it. Indonesia is very overwhelmed with our own plastic waste. Please don't add more. We must reduce our plastic consumption to prevent plastic tragedy. I don't want to swim in the river that's full of plastic or eating fish that contaminate with microplastics.
Indonesia is not a dumping site. Take back your trash from Indonesia. I'm Scorpion.
I'm Dragonfly.
Bye-bye!
Hi guys, my name is Sunflower and I'm located in San Luis Obispo, California, which is on the Central Coast. Now that we've learned about the life cycle of plastic and how truly long it stays on our Earth, let us now talk about a strategy to reduce our plastic waste and to repurpose it when we can't avoid it. And to repurpose something just means to take an object that had one purpose and then make it into something new so that we reduce the amount of waste in our landfill and extend the amount of time that we get to use an object. So this strategy that I just mentioned has 3 parts, and it's called the AIR strategy, or AIR. So the A stands for avoid, the I stands for intercept, and the R stands for redesign. So I'm going to talk to you about what avoid means, how to avoid plastic waste. So when we avoid plastic, that means we try and buy things that are made of other materials when possible. However, I also know that sometimes it's really hard to completely avoid plastic waste. So instead of avoiding completely, you can just reduce how much plastic waste you can consume. For example, if you go to a takeout restaurant with your face mask on and with your hand sanitizer ready, and when they ask you if you need any silverware, plastic silverware, you can just say, no thanks, I have some reusable silverware at home. So that's just one example out of the many ways that you can just try and reduce your plastic waste wherever you go. So now that we've talked about the first step of the strategy, avoid, now we're gonna head on over to Moon Jelly to talk to us about the next two steps of the strategy.
Thank you, Sunflower. I'm Moon Jelly and I'm in Valencia, California. Next, we need to talk about intercepting. So when we intercept plastic, we're preventing it from getting it into our natural environments, such as our marine systems. Intercepting could be picking up trash at a beach cleanup or just picking it up when you're walking down the street. It's super important that we keep trash from getting into our natural environments, like into our soil or our oceans. Intercepting is super important because each year, on average, there's between 4 to 12 million tons of plastic trash that are washed up into our oceans. Finally, we need to redesign products by getting rid of plastic altogether. We can do this by supporting businesses who only use compostable and recyclable materials and use reusable products whenever possible.
Thanks so much, Sprout Up scientists, for joining us to learn about plastic pollution and environmental injustice. We want to see the awesome stuff that you're up to in your communities and how you are avoiding, intercepting, and redesigning plastic wherever possible. A special thank you to our friends in Indonesia, Scorpion and Dragonfly. They're awesome.
That's right, you guys. Send your projects into us. We'd love to see some of those stuff you're working on and getting your family and friends engaged on. And always remember to stay safe by masking up and washing your hands. Sea Turtle and Dolphin signing off, and we'll see you guys around.
You.